Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I am Stylosa. So, Jeff has been active on the forums, and he's been talking about Rialto. Now, Rialto is a really good map. I like this map. It's awesome. It's got loads of verticality. It's actually got loads of really nice stuff, if I just show you guys. I guess I can show you here, this. Things like this, right, are really, really nice, because this means that people who can't access high ground, like your Zaryas, can now access high ground. And if you look at the map's been designed like this, so there's a lot of areas where you can get to the high ground with a Zarya, for example. So, it's not like a King's Row where it's very hard for Zarya to sort of take control of the high ground through the streets phase, let's say. Although she's still obviously effective on that map, but it's difficult to get to the high ground positions. And this is kind of the evolution of the map design with the game, that they're making it more accessible for more of the heroes. Anyway, that's going off on a bit of a tangent. So, King's Row is the best map in the game. I'm going to say that because I'm British. It's the British map, King's Row. It is one hell of a map. It's beautiful. Rialto could be right up there. However, Jeff has said this on the forums. In the past week, attackers win 42.88% of the time. We try to balance towards 50-50 win rate. We have some minor tweaks we can make to bring the map more in line. We were looking at it late last week and early this week. While it's not perfect, it's also not hugely out of line. Okay. Now, I'm sure we're familiar with Rialto. So what I'm going to do is go to the start of the map, and we're going to break this down, because how do you fix this map? What is the problem with this map? Why are defenders winning more than attackers? And in fact, if you're on the defense, you generally win, well, you just win more. It's actually much heavily weighted in your favor. So let's take a look at the initial push to get the payload. Now, this highlights one of the design directions of the map. Now, you can see there is a lot of high ground here. This is awesome. Both sides can effectively access this, although this one is more difficult to access for the attacker, because you see you kind of have to walk around the back. That's going to be more difficult. Defenders should be able to hold that easier. However, it's the environmental hazard. This is what I want to talk about here. It's the bridges. Well, this is Rialto. It's the Venice map. Of course, there's going to be a lot of environmental places where you can get kills by pulling people off into the water. So you've got your Doomfist can knock people into the water, your Hammond, your Orisa, your Lucio, your Reinhardt. The list just goes on. There are a lot of heroes that can send people into the drink, as it were. Now, this actually here isn't too bad for the attackers. You generally should be able to push this forward, mainly because it's so close to your spawn. The enemy, a defensive spawn, is so far away. If you get a pick here, you've got a major advantage. So this kind of brings you through this point. This is where it gets a little bit funky, though. This area here is a Widowmaker's playground. In fact, most of the map is a Widowmaker's playground. There is a few issues here. The main issue is cover, and the main issue is access to the cover for the attackers. Now, I'm sure you guys have been part of loads of attacks here that get stalled out at this point. In fact, I'd say you either lose here or you lose on the next point. Generally, when you get it towards the end, you kind of do manage to push it through, but we'll get there in a second. So the problem with this area of the map, there's not enough cover, and the defensive team can access the high ground. So when we're talking about high ground, we're talking about this here. This is hard for the attackers to access. Yes, there is a side door. Yes, you could take that path to go there and take the high ground, but it's going to be very difficult, because you're basically walking out into what could potentially be somebody on this high ground. You could have somebody on this high ground. These are defenders. You could have somebody down here, and they're basically firing through here into this position. There isn't enough cover. The defensive or the offensive team, as they're coming through here, just get absolutely smashed with everything. It's very difficult. Wide open space, Widowmaker can do a lot of work. Hanzo can do a lot of work. Hit scan heroes, your McCree, your Soldier are very effective here. Junkrat's also effective because you can just spam bombs into you. There's not a lot really that can stop the defensive team from doing a lot of work to the attackers. Now, the only benefit here is it's still kind of close to the attacker spawn. So even if you do die, yes, you might be able to reinforce, but Now, let's go on to possibly the worst part of the map. Now, this, I guess we can probably go up this way, yes. This part of the map is, I don't like this at all. Now, I think what needs to happen here is, let me explain the problem, and then I'll explain the solution, at least in my head. So the map here is very, very open, and you are very, very easily killed with Orisa Hults, with any kind of ability, well, generally a Hult which can knock you off into the drink. Now, the problem is, you push through here, don't you, with the payload. So as you capture this, the payload starts to move. You're on the bridge here. Look how open this is. This is so open. Everything in front of us right now can just destroy us. There can be enemies in the windows, it's just everywhere, right? It's a major, major problem. They're very defensive as well. It's going to be difficult for us to break them. right? We basically have to rush forward and try and take them on. But they've got a massive advantage because as we're moving forward through here, they can try and halt us. We drop down. This is, of course, if they've got an Orisa. A Winston could maybe jump on us, try and knock us off. A Wrecking Ball could definitely smash us off. Like 100% smash us off into the water, which is not great. A Lucio could boop you. Diva, I like to hit people with Diva here and knock them off. There's a lot of things you can do here. So I think what needs to happen is we basically need more of a fence here. This isn't long enough. It isn't high enough. But I know why it's so small, because they want you to get the environmental kills. It's part of the map. I don't expect them to start like putting like a 10-foot wall here to stop environmental kills happening, because that defeats the object of the map. What I would like to see though is maybe something similar to the bridge on Iconvold, where it's almost got, you know, areas of raised wall. Not all of it's raised, just maybe a few of the panels, just to give you a little bit of extra protection as you move across this bridge, because you are so wide open. And similarly, when I said, like, you know, most attacks generally end here in this big open space, they can also just as equally end here in this big open space. So this is the problem. The defenders have got 2 points where it's in such a massive advantage towards them that if they lose, it doesn't matter if you cap the first point, whatever. Let's fight over the second point. It's a major problem. So this area here, heavily defender biased. So as we move forward here and we go through this area here, this is where things start to get a bit interesting. So this sort of section of the map is, I would say, kind of 50-50. This is because both teams have equal amounts of cover. This isn't like this phase here where it's so wide open for the attackers that you can't really hide anyway. You have to use the payload for cover, and that's not going to stop Hults knocking you off the map or Divas smashing you off the map or anything like that. So what happens here is, as the payload moves through, we're generally sort of down on this level. Look at all of this cover. This is great because this means you can push through. So generally on the attack, I would expect you to be able to move the payload through here and get it to here at least. Things start opening up a little bit here, but again, still there's a lot of defensive options here. Offensive options, sorry. What I'm trying to say there is a lot of defensive options for the offense, which doesn't really make sense, and it's a bit confusing in the context of this video. But what I mean is there's a lot of cover still. There's light sign blocking environmental items. So we can't, like, if you're the attackers, you can't sit back here and do that much damage through the gap there, because, I mean, what can you see? You can't really see anything. You have to put yourself, if you're the defender, sorry, you have to put yourself in a position here to hit the attackers where you're very wide open there, so the attackers will have a very easy time at putting damage into you there. Same as if you sort of move down here. Again, it's very open. So I would expect you on the attack to get the payload to this point. I would say out of all the points on this map, this is the one where I would expect the attackers to win. If you get to this phase, I expect you to push through. So then we move into the final area of the map, and this is where it gets a little bit weird. I think here it's kind of anyone's game. It's more defender favored because you've obviously got the spawn. So if you're the attackers, you're spawning quite far away. So if you lose somebody here at this point, it's going to be difficult. But this is pretty much just a meatball. You have to ram the payload straight through the road. Yes, you can go around the side here. Now, it's not much of a flank, but you can try and do it. But again, the enemy team are probably going to see you because the defensive team will be set up, you know, around here somewhere, or they're here. They can see everywhere you go. They will see if you try and flank. There isn't like a surprise flank. It isn't like, oh my God, somebody's behind us. I mean, you can walk through this way here, but it's, again, they're probably going to see you. I mean, there are windows. They can see this. They will see you. The defenders will see every move the attackers make. So this isn't really about finesse at this point. It's just about sledgehammering your way through. In fact, you could swap into a GOATS comp here. So you go to a triple support, triple tank type of comp and just rush through this point. Anyway, in this point here at the end is, I don't think I've ever seen a defensive team hold this point when they've been broke. Because if you beat the enemy team here, I mean, I say point, obviously this is all the same point. But if you beat the enemy team out here, they never ever regroup to contest in here, which is pretty weird, right? Now, their spawn is literally right behind this, so they can reinforce this pretty quick. This kind of goes back to the design decisions that were made on Horizon Lunar Colony, for example, where your spawn is literally, or in fact, King's Row. Let's use King's Row as the example. That's a hybrid map. Your spawn is literally on the final point. However, the difference is, when compared to Horizon, is you have to actually move through these doors. So it takes you a longer time to get back. It's not like you're instantly rushing out of the spawn and rushing straight onto the point. You're having to run round the side. This is a tactic they use all the time in map design. round the side here. This is just all designed to artificially increase your time back to the point. You can see a little bit of the point so you can start doing damage, and then you can jump into contest. Although, like I've said, I've never seen this point held. I don't think, actually, I've been in a game where once we've beat the enemy team in a group fight out here, we've actually then not managed to push it in. So that's kind of Rialto. So how do you change it? What are we looking at changing? Well, I think this point is okay, so I don't really touch that point too much. This is the one I've got the major issue with. I think we need more cover on the bridge, definitely, because you just get choked up here. It's way too open. Widowmakers just absolutely dominate the game, especially when they're on defense as well. One of the reasons why a defensive Widowmaker typically dominates an offensive one on this point here is she's already set up the defensive Widow. She can already get ready to anticipate the offensive Widow's positioning, which is a major, major strength. Although typically Widowmaker does generally work better on attack where most maps are concerned. There is, of course, this flank, which I haven't really covered. This is okay. I mean, your Hanzos, your Widowmakers, your Genjis can get over this. It's not too bad, I guess, but it's so... you're so sort of far away that you don't generally see people use this, get into the back line, you know, maybe do some damage here, try and take out the supports or whatever. I don't really think I've seen that used too much. I mean, it's usable, it's there, it can be used, but it doesn't really have the chance when your whole team is here and your whole team's getting destroyed. That's generally the problem with this point of the map. So I think we need to look at more cover on this bridge. Once we're out into this area here, yeah, we're still going to get smashed because, look at that again, we've got no cover. The only cover we're going to have is the payload. The whole enemy team is set up there. They're going to be piling damage into us. It's going to be a problem, but at least not, you know, allowing us almost 50% chance to get across the bridge probably would be a good design decision. And then moving back to this point, this is just really open. I don't know what to do about this. I mean, they could increase the size of these planters here, so maybe they're a little bit higher, just to give a little bit more cover. But remember, your Widowmakers generally are set up here. You know, they can just do what they like here, then they can rotate around here to this position, at which point they can pretty much do what they like again. So I don't know, like, I think to fix this map, or to at least give the attackers more of a chance, you just need to give them more cover. I think it's as simple as that. I don't think we need major redesigns to the map. I don't think the flow of the map needs to be changed. I don't think we need to see things like what happened to Horizon, which was, I would say, a pretty heavy change, where they, you know, they've gone around and they've changed vast swathes of the map, and they've completely stopped you moving through certain areas of the map, which is obviously a major, major change. I don't think that needs to happen for this map. I think it's just a case of adding a little bit more cover, and then I think it would be a little bit more balanced. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa, and this is Unit Lost. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. It's interesting. When maps get redesigned, or at least on the table for being redesigned, it is very interesting, especially when it's the latest map as well, because remember, Rialto is the new map. This isn't an old map. This is a brand new map. Horizon, when they came to fix that, let's say, took them a long, long time, and also, why is this not connected? Maybe it's some sort of... I now cannot unsee that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa. This is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video. And you can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming. And follow my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Stylosa. I'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.